Hey Las Vegas, thanks for joining us right here on Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show, where we bring you what's going on in real estate in the news here in Vegas, straight from the professionals, your source of what's really happening. And not only that, we do want to be here and be your source for what's happening in the news, but our market is going through a lot of changes and a lot of things right now, so you're going to be hearing it straight from the professionals in real time what's happening, not 30 days later. So we're going to be here for you through this, and keep on tuning in. If you're watching our show, like, comment, share, download, tell your friends about us, and thank you for joining. Today we have some great people here on the show, but before we get started with that, we want to introduce Tiana Carroll. If you've been watching the show, I'm sure you've seen her several times. She's been returning. She's been on the show quite often, and she is now the co-host of Realty Check. So Tiana, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I liked it so much. I was like, I need to make this a regular gig.
And I love it. And we have some exciting things that's going to be happening with Tiana joining us.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how things grow and change, and getting that information out to you and really supporting the community. So I'm very excited to be a part of all of it.
I'm excited to have you here. So thank you so much for joining us. So you'll be seeing Tiana here every week as well. Awesome. So our guest today, he is also a return guest, Walt Ford. Walt Ford is with IMS Realty. He's a realtor and property manager. Walt reached out to me from a podcast I did a few months back, and we just connected, and now I see him everywhere. So
funny how that goes, right?
I know, right? So started with the Real Producers event. We were there. So congratulations, top 500 realtors in Vegas.
Bravo.
Yes,
good job.
awesome. And they put on a special event for us, and you got a magazine. They did a whole spread on you in the magazine, and congratulations for that. How do you like the event?
I thought the event was great. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good chance to get out and just relax a little bit, but you still end up talking shop, but with a bunch of people that are kind of all in the same arena. So yeah. It
was a nice mixer, nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice event they throw on for us. They do those, I think, every quarter. Yeah. So was that your first one, or have you been there before?
That was the second one.
Second one? Okay. Yeah. So we'll run into each other there. We usually attend.
Yeah. No, they're fun. I like them.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, let's get started with what's happening in the news. Las Vegas real estate.
Yes, ma'am. It is sort of what we were touching on a couple weeks ago in just our market, but I know you want to go through the numbers and stuff so people are on board with what we're talking about. So this
week we had 300 I wish. No, I don't wish.
You don't wish.
3,885 single-family residences on the market. Along with that, 843 price reductions. If you guys have been watching the show for a while, you'll know these numbers are substantially higher than they have been. So what do you guys thinking? They're going up every week. What's going on out there?
Yeah. Well, I think that we want to make sure everybody understands that it's not a buyer's market yet, but it's getting more buyer friendly. I think that's the important thing to remember.
That is such a great way of putting it, because yes, we're not in a buyer's market.
Right.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. And prices are still increasing.
Yeah. and I don't think the new construction can actually keep up and get us to that balance of homes that we need, the shortage of inventory that's out there. So I don't see us, that balanced market of 6 months of inventory, and then when there's more, they say when there's more than 6 months, then it becomes a buyer's market. I think we're way far away from that.
Yeah, and I personally don't think we're going to see it. What do you think?
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see it, not now anyway. Just the supply chain coming in is holding up. There's tons of construction and it's booming, and we're seeing more than we've seen in the recent past for sure, but it's still not to where we need it to be in order to be balanced. And balanced market, 6 months, right? We're barely over a month worth of inventory with those numbers. Better than they were last month, but still not great. But we are we are easing up. We're getting that buyer friendly, which is nice, because the buyers, if we're being honest, they're the ones who have been beaten down in this entire process lately.
Right. Yeah. Well, we talked about it a little bit before we started here, but you can actually go show a few homes now without it being gone before you even get there.
Right.
Or I mean, me as an agent, I've noticed, I'm sure you have too, you were going to houses with lines of agents, you know, and that's like going away. So that's
and it's
nice.
too hot for that now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I prefer this market. I hate to say it, you know, with yesterday we're in a sales meeting and everybody just seemed panicked and everything. And I'm like, I guess I'm a trader. I don't know. Like, I prefer this market. I like this market. This is the market I like to work in.
Okay, so what do you like about it?
I like the...
Right, because we all have different reasons. I know why I like it. What do you like?
Okay, so I like both buyer and seller side in this market. Seller side, you list a home, you get a buyer that's committed. They had choices. When they make an offer on your home, it's not... You know, I'm sure you do still get those flaky buyers. They're like, they make an offer, you take the offer, and they're like, oh, I found another one, because there's choices, right? But most of the time, you get a buyer that shopped around, looked at a few homes, and this is the home that they're really committed to. It's not just because you said yes to their offer, so you're not going to go into contract with like this buyer acting insane and like flaking on you every second, right? They're committed. So I like that. I like getting just a few offers and not 30 because we have to do net sheets and that is so much more work. And at the end of the day, the numbers are all similar, right? So it's chaotic on that end of it. And I like shopping with buyers and actually being able to find a home that fits what they need.
Okay, so those are a lot of the same reasons that I'm liking it, right? It's not so cutthroat in the aspect, like we're able to come to terms easier. There's a little more variety. So if we wanted to make a request for repair, they're actually honoring them. So I'm enjoying the fact that it feels sort of stable. And then I'm wondering if it's an illusion, right? We're just so beaten down and cutthroat for so long. Is it really as good as it seems, or we're just so starved for any sort of normalcy that we're like, okay, we'll take it. This is amazing.
Yeah, no, and it is that too, like going to the inspection and the roofs falling in and not needing to tell the buyer, well, you're just going to have to deal with that because there's no hope.
Well, I don't think, you know, you mentioned in your office meeting, everybody's kind of getting into panic mode or whatever. And I think it's opposite. I think it's the wrong time to panic as a real estate agent. Also the wrong time to panic as a buyer for multiple reasons. But I always go off, I tell people my gut instinct, you know, is I feel the activity stepping up. I think we're going to get busier.
I think so too.
And so that's my sense. And I think it's about right now, I mean, podcasts like yours are extremely important for people interested in buying or selling, because the market changes so fast. And so you want to stay up to date on everything that's going on.
Right.
And, you know, because the rumors fly rampant, right? Like it's, oh, home prices are going to drop, the market's going to crash, there's a bubble. If you hold off on buying a house because that's what you think, you might be making the wrong move. Right. You might be paying more for that house a year from now. That's why it's important to stay up to date. It's important to have a realtor that is up to date. I mean, we can't predict the future. You know, I wish we could, but we do the best we can, right? We look into our crystal ball the best we can.
Yes.
So I don't think it's time to panic. I think it's time to be educated. And even first-time home buyers, I'm sure you guys are doing the same thing. You know, you're meeting more with your lenders. There's all kinds of options. You don't need to be priced out of the market right now.
Yes.
You know, they have special down payment assistant programs. And they're all saying the same thing. You know, go ahead and get that house for 5.5% interest now. In 3 years, we'll probably be able to refinance you at a lower interest rate.
Right, and Chenoa's back. I got a buyer yesterday. Remember Chenoa from a few years ago? That it was a down payment assistance program. Okay,
I don't.
All right, hardly anybody knew about it.
We were too young. We were too young to remember that.
I don't know. I had a buyer. I had a buyer just last night. Got approved with the Chenoa program, and it has actually really attractive terms. Yeah, so it was good. It was good. So I'm like, hey, things like this are coming back. This is good news.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of change in what's going on in lending right now. And I think that is to compensate for the fact that we need to help these buyers get into these houses and stuff. So,
So mortgage applications are down. So they hit a 4-year low. causing multiple lenders to lay people off. You've been, if you guys are following like Inman or anything like that, I mention them on the show a lot because I read them daily. They're lots of layoffs. You're seeing all these companies, this person laid off and this person, all these different mortgage lender companies that we've heard about have been doing a lot of layoffs. Buyer activity here still seems pretty strong as we've been saying. So that's what are you guys feelings going on with the lending companies? I think they were just overstaffed because they had so much volume, and of course you have to lay off. I mean, I don't think that they're down to 5 people. I just think that they're getting rid of all the excess that they had to bring on for the way the market was.
Yeah, and it's like any other industry, right? The cream is going to rise to the top. And so people have been doing mortgages and they've seen the market shift and they know what's happening. They still have their client base. They're still out there hustling and they're doing whatever they can to get their buyers into locked into rate mortgages or make sure that they're approved for whatever they need. And I love that about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an important part, obviously, of buying.
Yeah. And rate mortgages. Let's talk about that. So I've been hearing ARM again. Adjustable rate mortgages are back. Interest only mortgages are back. These are options that lenders are talking to clients about to try to offset the rates that are, right now we're in the 5s and those really are not high rates. But,
No.
Everyone's
they're
panicking. So what does that worry you guys?
That those kind of loans are coming back?
Adjustable rate. Like every time I hear adjustable rate, I cringe.
Well, right now, that's funny you bring it up because I just talked to one of my lenders 2 days ago. We were talking about ARM loans, and he said right now at this very minute, I wouldn't recommend the ARM loan because there's not enough advantage to it over just a conventional loan. But he said, but I think it's coming. He goes, they got to make the ARMs a little bit more attractive, and then we'll get to that point. So you can get someone in entry level a little easier. And the same thing, like, if we all signs say we're headed towards a mild recession, and with that will come the lowered interest rates again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. It's always an ebb and flow, right?
There's one thing that I think is interesting. I was talking to somebody about it the other day, yet I never hear about it. And I haven't read about it in articles, so it's just based off my personal experience, I guess. But I bought my first home, little townhouse, back in 2007. It was my first home. And it was my second, but there's whatever. It was first at that time.
Such a great time to buy.
At that time, right? Yes, great time to buy. It was very inexpensive. It was just a small little townhome. I had a 7.5% interest rate, and that was a good rate back then.
It was.
Yet my payment was lower now, and it was $105,000. This townhouse. It was. I got it for $105,000. That's amazing, right? But
wish we still had those.
Yeah.
But my rate was 7.5. My payment, if I were to buy the same home right now, same program, because I had used an FHA loan, I was considered a first-time home buyer at the time because I had owned a home for 3 years prior. And if I were to buy a home now, same price, at a 5.5 interest rate, my payment would actually be higher or equal to what that was at a 7.5% interest rate. Well, how does that make sense, right? Because MIP's higher now on FHA loans than it was then.
Right.
So that's where the balance was. So 7.5 didn't seem so bad. So now 5.5 is actually like higher payment wise because MIP's higher.
It's gone so high.
Yeah. And how come nobody ever talks about that?
That's true, because that has gone up drastically.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's why rates have to be low, is because MIP's gone so high, or PMI. I'm not sure if I'm saying the right MIP, PMI. One's FHA, one's conventional, but we all know what I'm talking about,
Same
right?
thing.
We got you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an interesting discussion that no one's talked about.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So that's just one more area, right, of being a little overeducated on stuff, so you can talk about those things with a potential buyer.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important to have. I work, as you do, I'm sure, work with a few really, really good lenders that can keep us up to date on all this stuff. It's
Right.
important.
Yeah. Well, we're only as strong as our team, so we got to keep everybody around us that is somebody who is strong, who is supporting us, who can help us educate our clients and get everything. Because there's so many factors, right? It's not just a list price.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
Terms.
then keeping, it's for me, I'm older to remember. I mean, I paid when I remember because my daughter was just born, so it was 1990, and I bought a house, and I'm pretty sure we were at 18% then.
Wow.
Yeah. It was,
Could you imagine if you told somebody today 18% interest rate?
I looked at the rates from back in those times, and it said it hit 16, but I don't remember my specific situation, but I'm pretty sure it was 18%. So it's like when I talk to even my kids now and they say, oh, the interest rates are going up, I'm like, you just don't, they're really not bad at all. You don't, but you weren't even born, or around to remember those times.
There had to have been some way, though, that it was affordable. Well, maybe it was just in the price, I guess. The price of the home.
The price of the home.
Yeah, but yeah.
And I don't remember thinking it was awful.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like over time we pay the same amount, no matter what. It's just, it's the same amount for whatever the average, like if average rents are, $2,000 a month, then we're all paying around that for our mortgages. It's rates, whatever. It's MIP, it's rates, it's whatever the price, it all just comes together. It's the same amount. It's just how it's structured.
Yep.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, sometimes we get caught up on things, details that are not as important as everyone makes them seem. A lot of people, another thing in lending is they're saying that a lot of people now are not going to banks to get their loans. They're doing these like app-based lending, and they're doing them all online. They're not walking in the bank and doing mortgage applications. There's been a substantial change in that that we're seeing from consumers. I think it's more just kind of a sign of the times, but who wants to go sit in a bank and hand them your bank statements and fill out an application, right? It's so much more convenient to do it at midnight when you're watching Netflix.
Right.
Yeah, and that is it. I believe it's a sign of times as well, right? It's convenience. It's doing it without having to really interact with anybody at your own leisure now, especially where these work from home kind of environments. That's just easier to upload everything into a program. They run their numbers. It is what it is. Great for the loan application process. Not so wonderful for closing that loan, in my experience.
Yes, interesting. Very, very important topic. There is some of these places suck.
Yeah.
Well, they do, and they don't. They're nationwide, so they don't know our particular market. They don't understand how hard it is. The process to get a condo financed here in Vegas,
gosh.
depending on the area and whatever, they don't understand that. And we've had some of that happen too.
Yeah, I did. I had a lender that was like one of these like nationwide companies, big company. And I'm telling our loan contingency, it's so important that we have our approval by the loan contingency. Because if anything goes wrong, if you guys are still thinking about this, see if you're going to approve the buyer or whatever, anything goes wrong past that loan contingency date, the buyer doesn't get their EMD back. And they were like, well, we got a conditional approval. This is, good enough or whatever. We met the deadline. And I'm like, no, you don't understand the why we need full approval by then is to protect the buyer, not so you could say you met a deadline.
Right.
It's not, they just don't get it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It comes all back to having a team around you that's really working with you for the greater good of the client together.
Right. And for some people, in a lot of cases, I feel like they need to speak with their lender, communicate with their lender, and understand what they're getting into. So many places will just throw you in this box of a loan product, and they're not all the same. We know they're not all the same.
Right.
And sometimes it's not the best product for you.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important, and I think it's important no matter where you're listening to this from or whatever. I think it's important to work with someone local that knows your market really well. It's if you have been with a bank for years and years and years, and you're stellar, you have 800 credit score, there's nothing. I mean, then use your bank because you're a preferred client with them and they'll take care of you. But even the big banks sometimes don't understand the market. And so as an agent, we obviously can't tell people what to do or who to use, but I always recommend a local mortgage broker because they know the market. They know how to finesse everything depending on what you're trying to do. And it's the smartest way to go. And they have the most options.
Yeah. Yep. And if something goes south, you can go knock on their door.
Right? Yeah. That's my favorite thing, is getting a hold of somebody when I need answers from my client.
Yeah.
And having a local lender has always benefited me in that way.
And they understand what you just talked about, like the contingency period ending. Because I just recently closed one with a young gal, first-time home buyer. She had a relationship with a guy in, I can't remember what state, Ohio or something, that was a mortgage guy there. And I mean, it was fine, except for same thing. We were hitting that day, and I'm calling him, and he's like, yeah, well, it's going to be fine. And I said, what do you mean it's going to be fine? I don't, I'm worried for her. Oh, it'll be okay.
Are you going to write the buyer a $5,000 check if they lose their EMD? But what are we doing here?
I mean, I communicated that to her, and she was okay because she trusted the guy. And it worked out. But still, yeah, it can be a scary situation.
Yeah, no, it can. And I just feel like they're too lax about it. And maybe, it's because they've only met the client over the phone. They've never had to see this person face to face or know their life.
Right. There's no accountability.
Yeah. If it doesn't work out, it's like, all right, I never have to talk to them again. I don't prefer it. On the topic of going virtual, so we're seeing virtual signings. A lot of the companies, the title companies, have now gotten this, when you meet at the title company, this is a Vegas thing. If you're watching on the other East Coast, this doesn't happen there, but this happens in Vegas, where we meet, at the title company a few days before closing. We don't do keys there, but we sign our documents, the buyer or the seller, not all together, with the notary. That is going virtual.
And I've closed a couple of virtual deals.
Have you?
I have.
I have not done this yet.
Okay, so this is really benefiting me and my out-of-state buyers. Usually I'd have to, hire a notary to go out and do the paper signature and whatever. Now the comfort of their own home by themselves. And I don't know why we can't do it digitally. It's already legally binding on our contracts. Why wouldn't it be binding for the deed?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I get a little concerned about fraud, but for the most cases, in most cases we've met our clients and we know.
Right, I was going to say we've been through the process.
Yeah.
We know who they are. They've had their background, titles gone through what they've needed to go through. Everything's worked out, knock on wood, for me on a virtual signing. It does feel, again, like the online loan application, like a little disconnected, right? You're taking out that human factor, because it's been historically fun for me, right? Because it's that little day, you're going to get your keys once we record, it's going to be so fun, here's your closing basket, and the culmination of the entire experience is now at this ending, and I do like that part of it, but if we're looking at it like a business and just getting things done, it's efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and you touched on the same things I would say. Is I personally like the signings. I like going.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's fun, and you get to celebrate and say yay. But yeah, I've done a couple with the virtual signing too.
How have I not? I didn't even know.
Come on, get on board.
But it has been all out of state or out of country.
Right.
And so that's for local. I mean, I guess it's whatever's convenient for for your client, which is. But I do enjoy the in-person stuff. But I don't see. I mean, it will change the way business is done, but I don't see. You've heard the scare tactic. Well, just like with us, they say eventually, realtors will be gone because everything will be digital. Now they're saying the same thing with title. I don't think that'll ever happen. I have a buddy who is a travel agent, and they went through that whole thing too. Oh my God, we're being eliminated. And so they did lose business for a while until people learned how confusing it was to book their own travel.
Yeah.
Now he's right back, right back up.
Seriously, do you want to be a certified travel agent? I mean, I'm like, no, this isn't what I do. I want a person to take care of things for me.
Exactly.
I don't.
I just want to be a certified traveler.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any
Not
of the work.
agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, we have so many things that we have to learn, and so many things that they're like, do it on your own now. Check out your own groceries. Do all that. I hate it. I hate that stuff. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. That's not what I do. I don't want to do it myself. I understand the convenience is whatever, great, but that's not why I'm going here. I'm not shopping at the store so you don't have to hire employees. It's not, that's why I don't like it. So. Yes, I agree that we're not getting replaced.
Well, no, I don't think that's a real option anyway. I mean, especially in our city, there's so many areas of town. Everybody always thinks the S word and, you know, the H word, that those are the only two spots in town. But listen, there's the whole city, and we've got such beautiful pockets. And if you were in this town and you know real estate, there are so many gems out there that, you know, you can't find on Zillow.
Right. And that's, I'm recently like searching and shopping in another location that I've never been to, that I'm looking at real estate at. And yeah, it's just like, I can't do this on my own. I need a realtor. I need to find someone out there to help me. Like, I
got you.
I don't know the area.
I know, we know a couple.
So, you know, it's even being a realtor, though, you just don't, you know, you don't know. You have to live there. You have to be in that city to know what's going on there. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. So, Walt, this is where you're going to come in with your expertise. So we're seeing, we haven't seen much slowdown in the rental market. Is that correct?
No slowdown, and still picking up speed.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I've been hearing. Things are still crazy there. And state lawmakers are meeting to discuss the raising rents and the lack of affordable housing. The HUD secretary came to Vegas on Monday to assess the situation. And they took a bus tour of Las Vegas to see how funds are being used here. I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah. If they made a stop along the Strip or Fremont, then their funds are gone. So.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, where did they tour? I don't know, but so they're discussing the rental problem, you know, and rent increases. Every time I hear that, I cringe because I think rent control, which, you know, again, that's one of those things that sounds great, but it has a lot of stuff underlying that isn't as great as it sounds. So, yeah, what are you feeling is going on with the rental market?
Well, I think that it's definitely important to discuss affordable housing because we do need that. And we're not really that friendly of a city on affordable housing right now, because there hasn't been a focus on it. And I think, but I don't know if there's been a need for a focus on it until now. But it's important. But yeah, rent control, I'm not a fan because, like you said, there's so many layers underneath of it. That it sounds good to a tenant. Oh, you can't raise my rent of only a certain amount every.
Well, it sounds good to everybody. It's just like one of those things. Like, oh, that sounds good. I want everybody to be happy and fair, you know. But then when you look into it,
you don't want anybody to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. So, but right now, because I do manage properties, and you know, a property manager, we're just like the middle person. You know, you can have the owner on this side and the tenant on this side, and you're working trying to just make sure everybody stays within the law and does what they're supposed to do. And but I get to see the landlord side. I know it's easy as a tenant to get frustrated when your rent goes up and all that, but as a property owner, these people are seeing increases across the board on their expenses too.
Yeah.
You know, their homeowners insurance and their HOA fees and their property taxes and maintenance, as you mentioned earlier, maintenance problems are costing more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Something breaks down, it's costing double what it used to cost.
Facts.
And
a washer. I had a washer go out in my rental property like last week, 2 weeks ago, and it was, you know, the basic washer used to be like $300. There's no such thing as that anymore.
There's not.
It was $800. And I was like, whoa, that was expensive, and it had to be replaced. You know, so like you do what you got to do, but. Wow, I'm like, just prices of everything are so high right now. Yeah.
And so I think that, again, it's important for understanding. I think that tenants as well need to understand that these property owners are seeing increase in costs, and they have to cover those costs, because let's just face it, if there weren't investors and there weren't people out buying these properties as a business to use as rental properties, there wouldn't be anything to rent.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it's easy to complain and say, oh, because I hear it a lot, oh, the landlord's really taking advantage of me here. And yes, there are bad landlords.
Oh, yeah.
And as a property manager, that's what we try to mitigate, right? If we get those kind of owners, we just won't work for them.
That's
good. But everybody has to be understanding of each side, I think, and just we work together. And I think if we can do that, you know, we can alleviate, not have to worry about getting into rent control, but we still need to work on affordable housing. And I think there's a few projects being worked on, but not enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and by affordable housing, do you mean building more housing that, like, for first-time home buyers, or like more government subsidized housing? Both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. both issues. I mean, we're over 2 million in population right here in Vegas now. So we have a lot of people. We're a growing city. So
absolutely.
I mean, along with that comes a really dire need for housing across all levels.
And it's going to come, right now, I hate to say this, but the wages in Vegas aren't keeping up either.
Oh, yeah.
We're in the entertainment, capital of the world, and hospitality, they're not getting I don't think they're getting the raises and the increases that they need. And that's who runs this city. I mean, we need our citizens, our Las Vegans, to keep this thing going so everybody can come here and enjoy it.
Yeah, but they need to be able to afford to live here,
They need to be able to afford to live here. And it reminds me of, I used to say this, and I used to live in Utah, and I would like to go to Park City a lot. Park City is amazing, but everybody that worked in Park City didn't live in Park City because they just didn't have, and that's not right. They didn't have that kind of housing available that was affordable for people.
Yeah, well, that's happening already right now with Pahrump.
Yeah, I was going to say people are going to Moapa and Pahrump, and we're starting to see that where they're just looking for some sort of relief because they can't live the way they need to here.
Right.
Now they've got to look at that 45-minute commute, that hour commute.
But now with gas prices,
right? It's always something.
That commute was not as bad as it is now, because now I'm like, are you saving any money? Or are you paying that extra in gas? Because that's a factor. That's got to be a factor.
I wouldn't be. Yeah, gas is a lot. You drive an electric, right?
Yeah. So sorry, I'm not feeling it. Drive electric. I have solar on my house. My bill's $40. So
nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
How far do you live from me? Can I run an extension cord?
All right. Don't mind us. We're just tapping into your grid. It's fine.
Yeah. No, it is good. But yeah, no. But my husband still drives, a truck.
Yeah.
So that costs a lot in gas. So we're still paying it. We're not exempt yet.
Yeah. And I'm just stubborn. I'm a car guy, so I have to have the car I want, and I know electric's the way to go. But I'm just stubborn.
You can't do road trips in them, though. I mean, you can, but they're not convenient. So it's just a city. It's a city commuter.
Yeah. See, I'm all about the convenience. Not that it's not inconvenient to sit at the gas pump for 15 minutes waiting in line to get a good gas price.
Yeah.
And fill up every other day. So.
But you could sit at a supercharger for 30 minutes and watch a Netflix video.
My son has both, and they live in California. But whenever they come visit, they bring their gas car because it's just.
Oh yeah,
easier.
no, I wouldn't take an electric car on a out of state. No, no, I wouldn't trust it. Anyways, we do have a listener question. So, Trish Williams team at gmail.com. If you have any questions on the show, email us directly there. You can comment. I get some people, they'll message me on Facebook. Wherever you're watching, there's somewhere where you can comment, or you can email directly if you have any listener questions, and we would love to answer your questions here on the show. So we do have Benny. Benny says that he's shopping for a home right now with not with us, so I don't know who he's shopping with.
Right. That's your first mistake, Benny.
Yeah, Benny. No, I'm just joking. I'm sure that I'm sure you're in good hands, whoever you're with. But Benny is still getting beat out on multiple offers, and he's wondering why everyone is saying that the market's crashing. I'm not saying the market's crashing. You didn't hear that from me, so let's just say that there. I do not believe that's true. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think that there has been talk. We're getting more inventory. We are seeing more price reductions. What did we have, 800 this week?
Yep, we had 843.
Okay, so those numbers are going up. The market seems to be stabling a bit, not balanced in any way, but seeing things differently. And I don't know what's going on with Benny, where he's shopping, what his price point is, but it tends to be a numbers game, right? You just have to stay in it and be diligent about getting to those homes, making those offers, making them the strongest as possible. Of course, it's easy to say, well, just offer $35,000 over and you'll be fine. But people don't have that money. So it's finding creative ways to your agent to help you get that offer, working with your lender, getting you in the best program, just anything you can, but stay diligent. Don't wait yourself out of the market, and don't give up. Because, no offense, but being a renter is not that great.
Well, and you're going to pay the same.
Right.
or more
Right.
in some
Right.
cases.
And you're not
Yeah.
getting the benefit of ownership.
Right, right. I think, again, I don't know all the details of his situation, but I'm assuming that he's probably shopping below 350. Just knowing what our market is
Yeah.
right now, there's still multiple offers in there. I haven't seen any like real relief. I spoke with someone yesterday on a probate home that was under 350, and there wasn't really anything great or special or super attractive about it. And they had 20 offers, and they were, I had a buyer that was paying $15,000 above whatever it appraised at, and all these
Yeah.
other things, because that's still the market and that price point. So
It is.
I'm assuming that's where we're at, and that makes a big difference.
Right.
If you're shopping in the 700,000 price point, you're probably going to be maybe the only offer out there. And there's other factors out there, unless it's like super amazing house that everyone's bending over backwards for.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I think you're right on target. It's probably that price point. And so for me, because I do work with a lot of investors, I keep my eye on those kind too. And I just recently called on I think it was 330 or something. The house, not a bad little house, which would be a good rental. But when I called the agent, I said, if we come in full price cash, where are we at? And she goes, higher.
Higher.
Higher. I mean, she already had offers like $40,000
Wow.
over which at that point it didn't make sense as an investment property anymore.
Right.
So, but it's important, his comment about everyone saying the market crashing, and you just said it. Be cautious with those thoughts. Just because it spreads in the media,
Yes.
when someone says, "Oh, we're in a bubble" or the market's crashing, it goes like wildfire. And you have to really, you have to be educated on what's really happening. What caused the last housing bubble and the burst of that bubble was unprecedented.
Right.
In every other recession, real estate either stayed the same or went up. And when all that burst and we went into that huge recession, it was caused by the housing market.
yeah.
It was a completely different thing.
Those loans were.
And so I don't think, again, we can't predict the future, but I don't think we're in for anything like that.
I really don't either. I still think that we're going to stay stable. Slight adjustments. The price reductions are showing that things are going to come back to that. They're just going to be not unrealistic as far as the pricing, which is good.
Right.
That's not a bad thing. I don't really think that we're going to be going far backwards.
And that's not an indicator, again, to when talking with buyers, because they'll bring that up about price reductions and the values are dropping. The values are not dropping.
The values are
price
not
reductions
dropping.
are something that people do when they haven't generated an offer, so they reduce the price. And we had whatever you said, 800 and something, which seems like a lot, but it's actually still less than normal.
Because you still have those sellers that like go on the market and they're, I want to price 40,000 over when
Right.
you just told me the comps are. And it's like, okay, as realtors, I mean, I'm sure there's some realtors that'll say, no, you can't do that or whatever. But I go in and I say, if this is what you want to do, you sign this paper that says you read the comps and let's see what happens.
Right.
We'll go from there. But it's not working. Those houses have to reduce. They're not getting the activity. They're not there.
And that's normal. You're going to have, even in a normal real estate market, you have even more of those
Yeah.
than we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Or the people that just can't get the home ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it to where it needs to be to attract, because homes now have to be attractive again. You do consider painting the walls.
So is that a change in market? Is that our bubble?
Well, yeah, it's a shift. Yeah, paint
absolutely
the walls.
is.
Get
Yeah.
the carpet cleaned at least. Like do something. You're not just putting it on the market like
Right.
that. So those things are changing. So we're seeing a little bit of difference there. And one thing, I don't want to open up another can of worms because we're wrapping up the show here, but Airbnbs, they just talked about the regulations on that on Monday. So
Yes, I can't wait to do that episode.
we're gonna do an episode on it here soon, but we're gonna have activity of investors because this is a wonderful place to own an Airbnb.
Yep.
Great spot for an Airbnb. So we're gonna see some buzz over that. I think it's impossible that we're not.
And that goes, and what's cool about that is there's a creation of other things. Companies that manage Airbnbs.
Yes.
They're starting already to emerge.
That's part of the regulation. It's mandatory that you have it managed by a company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That is that's one of the rules on there is it has to be managed. There has to be someone on call 24/7. I mean, I guess you could
Do it yourself.
Technically, you could do it yourself, but when I hear that, I think you have to hire someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They just want it more regulated.
Yeah.
It's not a mom and pop making money on the side. If it's going to be done, they want it to run like a business so they get their county dollar too.
Yeah, or the occupants aren't like, running wild in the middle of the night and all the
Right.
neighbors are freaking out.
Yeah,
It
I
has
think
to
that's
be.
the big part. That'll be the downfall of it if that starts to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So
People
that's what a lot
partying
of
in
the,
Vegas? That seems weird. Are you sure?
Keep your party down on Fremont Street or the Strip.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of homes right over by Fremont Street, downtown Vegas. Those are going to be great
Yeah.
locations.
Yep.
But there's distance regulations. There's a lot of stuff. We're going to
Yeah,
open
yeah,
that
we're
all
gonna
up
go
on a
over all
show.
that.
Yeah. So it's been a great show. Been great topics. I could keep on talking, but it seems like it's time to
Time to
stop.
go. Yep.
So, Walt, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, 702-600-5874 is that's the easiest way. Text
Okay.
and on social media, my name's unique enough that I'm just Walt Ford on almost everything.
That's
Facebook,
awesome.
Instagram, TikTok, all of it.
That's easy to remember.
I'm going to stalk your TikTok now, Walt.
Yeah. Tiana.
Oh, well, you can reach me here. No, yeah, 702-379-9948 is my cell. Call, text. I have that with me always. So that's the best way.
And Tiana's going to be here every week on the show, so she's
Yes, I
always
am.
going to be accessible.
So
And
excited.
yes, we are very excited. And there's going to be a lot of more stuff coming along with that, so we're excited to see that. You guys are going to start seeing us around more, especially on social media.
Yay!
In avenues I don't know how to use yet. So that's,
Yeah, we're going to do them all, though. It's going to be exciting.
I'm excited about that. So you know how to reach me, 702-308-2878. Every Thursday, we post a new show, so make sure to like, comment, share, follow, tell your friends, and thanks for joining us.